everyone, welcome to the Bluestone Coaching YouTube channel where we talk about all things women, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health. My name is Caroline, and join with me, we have some experts. We have Dr. Eden, a board-certified gynecologist, and Julia Mateer, a licensed mental health therapist. And today, we're talking about building intentional community and how to create that and why it's important, especially as Christian women. So my first question for you ladies, kind of a deep one, we're diving in real fast. Why is it hard for adult women to create deep friendships?
Well, this is a loaded question. When I saw that question on the list, I thought, oh, here we go. So first of all, I think the foundation needs to be stated that we are designed for relationship. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's in our spiritual DNA, it's in our physical DNA. Mm-hmm. We're designed to attach to our parent. We're designed to work out our faith as Christ followers in community. So it's not optional, mm-hmm. really. I mean, but it is hard. And I'm generalizing by saying I think it is harder for women to have those kinds of relationships than men. But I have seen some women do it really well. But I don't know that that's necessarily the norm. I think that there is a myth that we're designed to have lots of relationships, but really the human heart only has the capacity for one or two really good relationships where you can take the mask off and really be yourself. So I think it is a worthy task or a worthy endeavor to develop and be intentional, develop relationships with other women, but I don't think that it's necessarily an easy thing. And I think you have to have women that are just as committed to you in that and staying in the arena together through thick or thin, through conflict or through life's ups and downs. I think it's hard when you're the committed one and they're not, or they're the committed one and you're not. So I just think there's so many dynamics with this. I do know this as a therapist. I hear from women often how lonely they are. And these are Christ followers. So that grieves my heart. But yet I know that to be in my own life, there have been seasons when I've been lonely as well. So I understand that. Mm-hmm. So.
Gosh, I love what you said at the beginning that like we have to remember that God designed us for community. Like it's part of God's very nature with the Trinity of that community. And I think it's hard because you go to church and they're always talking about small groups and getting community, which is great. All those things are great. But then people work and you may or may not have kids. And so are you failing if you can't do all those things? So then comes shame. It's hard because the different parts of our lives, friends look different, right? Like in college years, friends look like this. They're like family almost. And then after college, up until if a woman has children, those friends look different. And then once you have kids, it's like, wow, how do we even do that? I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet, to be honest. But I don't know. And then you suddenly kids go off, and then you have more time. But then I don't know. And I still don't have the answer to that. And I know God gives us friends and community for different seasons, which is a weird, like a hard thing too. You know, you want friends for life. That's what we, strive for, if you will. But I know they're so important. Iron sharpens iron. He built us for community. And it makes sense you saying about how we really only have the ability to have maybe a couple of really deep relationships because it takes time. Just like having that relationship with the Lord takes a lot of effort to be that intimate. Like it's the same with people. What do you think?
Yeah, I think proximity has a lot to do with a barrier to building relationships. Because when you're in high school or even in college, all of your friends are right there every single day and you talk to them every day. And then you get out of college and everyone moves away, people get married, everyone's life seems to change, and you're kind of left lonely because you were so used to seeing your friends every day, and now you don't see them hardly ever. And then that's why being a part of a church community can be so valuable, and being consistent in that church community and being open to meeting friends. But I think proximity too, because if you're a busy mom, like Dr. Eden was saying today, she had a lot of different soccer games and birthday parties all day long. You have your world and your family, and it can be, if other people aren't directly in that, it can be hard to build relationships. So I think I've watched in my circle proximity be a challenge, which I think, it can be overcome because it just takes more intentionality, it just takes more effort, and flexibility. But absolutely. So tell me, what role does vulnerability play in cultivating community?
I love that question. It's interesting, I heard someone say the other day, there's a difference between being authentic and being vulnerable. And because we always say, show up with your authentic self, that's kind of a buzz phrase. It has been the last several years. And I think certainly people, you can show up and we can be authentic, but are we going to be vulnerable? And so I think you're not vulnerable with everyone, but I think you choose the people that your heart is safe with. So are there friends that your heart is safe with, that you can be vulnerable with, so that they're able to walk with you, pray for you, support you, but then you do that as well for them, so that it's not just a one-way friendship, it's a back and forth. So I think that's the difference.
And vulnerability is scary because that can end in hurt.
Oh, totally.
And I feel like I don't want to speak for everyone, but I've certainly had like friend hurt in the past, and you kind of bring that with you, and you protect yourself, and then you might meet with somebody a couple times, and maybe it's not like jiving perfect. You're like, nope, no, I'm not going to do that. And then you like move on. And that definitely takes direction for me from the Holy Spirit, because, and that could definitely be a heart blockage too, just from the past that you have to work through, that I've had to work through before.
Yeah, I think relationships like that are risk. I think it's a risk.
Yeah, it's risky.
But if you don't risk, you don't know. And I think it's really easy for us. We take a risk, our heart gets hurt, and then we isolate. Okay, I'm not doing that again. But then you miss out on the richness of a friendship. Even if that friendship is for a season, because I think you're right. For women, we go through so many seasons in our life. So you're in college, there you have friendships, all the women on your floor, or whatever that looks like, your proximity, and so you have these friendships that happen because you're right there together. Then you get married, you have kids, and then you kind of have mom friends. But then if you're working, it's the people in your office become your friends, and so people come in and out of your life, in and out of a woman's life. But I think if you guard your heart because you don't trust making friends, you lose out. You just lose out.
Yes.
You can be lonely and isolate for your whole life.
And that's such a support, like that friend who's a woman is such support that my husband can't offer me, because he doesn't understand hormonal changes or all the things going on, and my husband supports me amazing. But it's so nice to have another woman who has like a mama heart, and I don't know, not having that would definitely change my life. I'm so thankful for deep relationships.
C.S. Lewis has this really beautiful quote, and the last line of it says, to love at all is to be vulnerable. And I think to love is to be vulnerable, and I think if you're gonna have deep friendships, you're gonna have to learn how to be vulnerable. And I think for me, you rely on the Holy Spirit for discernment, because not everyone, Mom's right, not everyone is going to be a deep friend that you can trust. And I think you can use wisdom there, right? You don't want to be vulnerable to everyone, but when you do feel safe with someone, having the courage to be vulnerable, and that might be awkward. I know sometimes for me, I have a really hard time being vulnerable, so I've just learned to do it awkward. And so sometimes my words will come out awkward, or I'll be like, so this is what's happening in my life, or this is what I'm struggling with. But I always, if it's vulnerable with the right friend, I come away feeling more energized and more at peace about the situation, or like a piece of my heart has healed or something along, like there's some kind of restoration that happens when you can be vulnerable with a safe person. And I think also you as a friend being that safe person for people, and recognizing that when your friend comes to you vulnerable and hurting, that you are okay with sitting and listening and sitting in that space and empathizing with them, and not always trying to fix it, but maybe just simply being there, crying with them or praying with them or whatever that looks like. Because to have friends, you have to be a friend, and if you want deep friendships, you yourself have to be open to being a deep friend. So absolutely. Now, I know there's a season of my life where I was really burnt out, and I was working maybe 60 hours a week, and so was my husband, and I was very, very unwell physically, and I had no mental capacity to have friends. So I think I didn't reach out to people. The only people I talked to were my coworkers, my husband, probably you. And it wasn't great. And I've watched some of my friends who recently became moms say things like, I just don't have the emotional capacity. I'm so sorry I didn't text you back. And so what encouragement or things would you give to a woman who's in that season of their life where it just feels like so much work to even schedule a coffee? But we know it's important, but what encouragement would you give them?
I mean, for me, because I'm past the newborn phase and my kids are 4 and 2, but it is still seemingly feels really hard to meet with women. And I finally, I don't know if this would work for everyone, but I finally sat down and had my calendar and put every single thing on it that my husband and that I do, and I put 2 blocks a week where I could do anything with them, and that can be getting coffee with someone like we did yesterday. That's one of my blocks, or whatever it is. Maybe that's my time, and that helped tremendously because I would be flooded with, I don't know, you can like feel shame and like guilt that you're not more available. It's like I have kids and then I'm working, and so it almost takes a little bit of organization to say, okay, this is important to me. I do want to be able to have coffee with a friend. So if I want that, then I need to set space for that. So I look back on when I had babies, the newborn, and I never met with anyone, it felt like. But I never also talked to my spouse to get him involved, because he can also take care of the baby for 1 hour, right? Like I just didn't organize myself to make it happen. So I think it just takes organization, as easy as that sounds.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, sure. Do you have anything to add?
Oh, I think, so I think when it comes to your family, I think that is community. I mean, my relationship with my husband, and then my children, and then I feel this is what I learned that really helped me, that I'm called to God himself first, and then my husband, then my children, and then anyone else that God brings into our sphere. And that took a lot of the pressure,
So much pressure
to build to have relationships. And I knew that if I lost my kids or my marriage, because I was involved in so many other things, or because I had all these other peripheral relationships, then I would be of all women most sad, right? And so there are seasons when your heart space, like all I had the capacity for was to keep my relationship with my husband going and keep my relationship with my children going. And then the friends that would come, that would be, on the peripheral. So it might be just a coffee or that kind of thing. And then certainly now that my children are adults, I have more heart space and more capacity to have more relationships like that. Like when we did in college, you just have the time. And so I think it's not to beat yourself up. I think there's kind of ebbs and flows in women's life where there's more capacity for friendships outside of that. But certainly I think when you're married, that relationship takes a lot of care and nurturing and intentionality. And then when you have children, to be caring for those children and discipling those children. I mean, you're in charge of their social calendar and their physical well-being and their emotional well-being, their spiritual growth. I mean, as a mother, you carry all of that, and so to add others to that, it can be overwhelming. So, and then you have women that are working and doing that. So, yeah, I just think it's a dance, and I think there are seasons certainly where you have more capacity for that than others. So it is important to have that community and those girlfriends, absolutely. But I think there are seasons where it's easier and seasons where it's just not.
Yeah, and as a friend who most of my friends are having babies right now, so a lot of them are having kids for the first time or they're on their second kid. I've learned, because my friendships changed, where all of them all of their lives started to change, and they stopped texting me back, and they stopped being available to hang out whenever, and obviously the time they can hang out. And I learned that me in my stage of life, because I have more capacity at this point, I have an opportunity to be there for them. And so now I know I need to be flexible, because I can. I have a lot more flexibility, and friendships are important to me. I know I'm the kind of person that I'm extroverted. I get a lot of energy from people, and I love my friends. So I make sure, okay, if I want to maintain a relationship with this person, I need to be flexible to their schedule right now. And I'm grateful that I'm able to do that. So we were able to meet at 7:30 in the morning at Starbucks, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I went to my friend's house this morning at 7:30 in the morning, and her 2 little girls woke up, and she made them breakfast, and we chatted. I played with their kids. It just looks different than us, going to dinner at 7 o'clock at night, in downtown. And so I have friends who have kids, and they'll come over for lunch on Saturday instead of staying in the evening. And I try to stay flexible. We do phone calls instead of physically meeting. I had one friend who could call me on her way home. She called me and we chat. We had an hour commute, and we'd catch up, and we were able to stay friends, even though she's incredibly busy and has a newborn. And so I think when I was struggling to have friendships, it always meant a lot to me when I had a friend call me or text me, because I didn't always have the energy to go to a coffee or sit down and have a vulnerable conversation, because I was so drained. I had nothing to give, but I had people who poured into me at that point, and so now I'm able to pour into my friends who are probably a lot more drained than I am with 1 or 2 children and working. And so I think when you're an adult, and if you want to have relationships, you just have to be open to being flexible, and it's just not going to be structured. And your friends, I stopped getting offended that they didn't text me back.
So real.
So
that's right. You have to be able to let this stuff go.
Right.
Don't you, right?
Yes.
It's not personal. Their life, they're just busy, and they're busy with important things. And so I have a lot of friends that I'll text. I'm like, they might text me 2 weeks from now, but and my husband had to help me. It's okay, but they just had a baby, they're probably tired. I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. So just not being offended that it doesn't look like the way it used to, and your relationships change. But if you want to stay friends with someone, sometimes you might have to be the person putting in more effort in some seasons, and sometimes they might be the person putting more effort, and sometimes they might be a friend you talk to every few months. I have friends who don't live here, been friends with since I was in 6th grade, and we catch up 3 or 4 times a year for 3 or 4 hours, and we've been able to maintain a friendship. So each friendship just might look different. You just really have to be flexible, I think, to have.
I do a lot of audio messages.
Yes,
a lot
of audio.
Because then my friends can listen to it whenever they have time, even if it's not that day. But I've said way more than a text message, and then they can auto me back, and I can listen to it when I can. That way, if we're having this conversation that's not all the same time.
That's good.
That has been a game changer for me.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, lots of grace, lots
Absolutely.
of flexibility, and
Absolutely.
I think just believing the best in each other too.
Oh, that's really good, to believe the best in someone, and rather than go negative, oh, they don't like me, or they don't want to have any, that So to believe the best, and that's a discipline, isn't it? Because we tend not to. We'll believe the worst about someone, or we'll believe the worst about ourselves. But to choose to believe the best about someone, I think the Father is so pleased with us when we make that decision.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thanks.
That was great.
My husband taught me that one. Not something I do naturally. I'm like, oh, she doesn't like me. She doesn't take me back. My husband's like, He's like, it doesn't have to do with you, Caroline, okay? They're probably busy or struggling, and then I find out they're like going through something really hard. I'm like, oh, it really isn't about me, and I need to be there for them. So, yeah, my husband taught me that one. All right, so as we close, what's maybe give one piece of encouragement and one practical step someone could take who really wants to have friends but is struggling to have friendships right now?
Text somebody, like, just reach out. There's that like paralyzed feeling and what ifs and you don't know, and just reach out. Step one.
Yeah.
Possibly the hardest step, but step one.
Yeah.
Small encouragement. You can do it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Even if you're afraid they're going to reject you. The joy of that connection when it does work, it's so worth it. So it's risky. You're risking your heart with someone, but just do it.
Yeah, I agree. If you're struggling, text someone, hey, I'm struggling, I need a friend. I've had friends text me that, and I've texted that to friends. I need a friend right now, or do you have 3 minutes, or whatever it is, and then, absolutely. Also, if you feel like the Holy Spirit puts someone on your heart, I know that happens. Sometimes I'm like, oh, why do I keep thinking about this person? And I'm like, no, I'll call them later. And it turns out they've lost a loved one or something really hard is happening. I think listen to the Holy Spirit when he nudges you towards someone too. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, talking about community and building friendships. And if you have any questions about this topic, please drop a comment below, and we'd love to answer that for you. And if you liked this, then like it and subscribe, and join us next time. Have a great day.